Neath against third-placed Neath at Sardis Road. The commentator, Gareth Charles.
So Neil Jenkins gets things underway for Pontypridd as they try and stay in touch with Cardiff at the top of the Heineken League. And right away, it's a great start with good work on the floor by Richie Collins. The slip inside from Jenkins doesn't quite work. And that gives Neath the chance to counter from their own 22. David Llewellyn, former Newport scrum half, with a kick downfield. And having to field it outside his own 22 is Gavin Jones. And not the best of first touches for the man of the moment as far as Neath are concerned, Matthew McCarthy. Interesting battle in the line-out. The Llewellyn brothers, both internationals, against two Wales A internationals, Greg Prosser and Mark Rowley. Prosser at the front gets a hand to it, but is impeded. Clearly demonstrated by Gareth Simmons. And the big man knows he's in the game right from the off. Neil Jenkins' first attempt today is from about just over 30 metres. The usual meticulous preparations. And that shows just why he's the first man past 1,000 points in League Rugby in England and Wales. Neil Jenkins, as successful as ever, puts his side in front after just 2 minutes play. Phil John, the Pontypridd hooker. That's well taken by Greg Prosser in the front. Good two-handed catch. It's Collins and Paul John between them, being driven backwards by Chris Wyatt. Again, Pontypridd look to spread it. Good pass to bring Gavin Jones in. He checks back, looks for support, and Paul John is there. But he's going backwards, and that's Wyatt with a charge down. But his soccer skills didn't quite match those of his hands. Chris Wyatt, a man also maybe in contention as far as international honours are concerned. Again, good line-out ball from Prosser. Good patterns in midfield, and that brings Gavin Jones into the gap. Looks for Manley outside, again checks back inside. Neil Jenkins is there in support. Chris Scott with the all-important tackle, but it's still alive for Pontypridd. Rowley has it, Matthew Lloyd is in there. Paul John comes to the blind side. Too many men there. Third time it comes back for Pontypridd, but Neath have had a chance to regroup defensively, and they're keeping them out at the moment. Steve Lewis looks back inside, but has the gap opened up? Not quite enough. Paul John darts across, and there's the try. It had to come. Tremendous pressure from Pontypridd. And Paul John with his 8th league try of the season. This was the move that gave Pontypridd that try eventually. Great line-out ball from Greg Prosser. Plenty of movement off the ball. Jenkins looping round, a huge pass out to Gavin Jones. Puts him in a massive gap. Has options either way. Looks for Neil Jenkins, who's on hand. The tackle coming in from Chris Scott to defend. But there's so much pressure coming on from Pontypridd at this stage. Kingsley Jones is the first man down there. Rowley just offers it back on a plate. Paul John, the first to try on the blind side. Again, Kingsley Jones and Richie Collins involved. And Neath just doing the utmost to keep them out at the moment. The third member of the back row, Matthew Lloyd, has a thrust. And really the defence is being stretched in all kinds of directions. And the little pop-back pass inside from Lewis to Jones. And the gap appears for Paul John to round off what was a really excellent move. Jenkins from just a couple of yards in from the right-hand side touchline. Strikes it perfectly. What a marvellous kick. Well, he may have his critics, but nobody can deny what a superb place kicker he is. Williams showing his strength to ward off Richie Collins, and Kingsley Jones going over the top. Just his second league outing for Pontypridd since joining from Cross Keys. McCarthy's scored just 20 points for Neath so far this season, having missed a lot of it because of his college commitments. That looks a better strike, and indeed that is a first success for both Matthew McCarthy and Neath. Their first 3 points compared to Pontypridd's 10. Once again, Pontypridd down in the Neath 22. Once again, Mark Rowley wins. And once again, Nigel Bazzani sets it up to Paul John. Jenkins to Lewis in midfield. Gavin Jones coming in from full-back. Breaks through the first tackle, is floored by McCarthy. Boudia goes in for it, but it was Pontypridd who came over the top. Richie Collins, the man at fault, says Gareth Simmons. As that third man, not standing on his feet, going to ground and being penalised for it. Pontypridd producing all kinds of patterns in midfield. Lot of running off the ball, and it's Gavin Jones coming in on that angle. Goes past Woodland. Good tackle by Matthew McCarthy. And there's Collins failing to stay on his feet and giving away the kick. Good hands from Chris Scott at the tail of the line. David Llewellyn up to halfway. Picked up by Glyn Llewellyn. For once, the Neath forwards get a drive on. It's been a rare sight this afternoon so far. McCarthy, Woodland. Richard Jones runs outside him. Tries to slip it to Steve Bowling. Neath's progress halted for the moment, but Chris Scott is trying to rip it and does so. Llewellyn to McCarthy to Bowling. Only Woodland outside him, so goes for the kick for the corner. Gavin Jones comes across. Woodland in with a tackle on him. And Jason Lewis trying to do the fighter's work. Mark Rowley against Gareth Llewellyn at the back. Glyn Llewellyn against Greg Prosser at the front. It's Glyn Llewellyn who wins it, and the gap opens up for David Llewellyn. Taken by Andrew Metcalf. Williams picks it up, turns, looks for support. It comes from Chris Wyatt. It's there on the floor. A foot in the way, but it's managed to get clear to McCarthy. McCarthy changes direction. Now looks for support from the forwards as he runs into Rowley, but it's only Richie Collins who's there. And Neath, when it looked so promising, losing out on possession, and Paul John, having stepped back in the 22, keeps it alive. Doesn't look for touch. Bowling looks to counter, runs half through David Manley, but again it's Pontypridd who get to the loose ball. Matthew Lloyd, the number 8 that was. Bazzani wins that one at the front. Paul John and Richie Collins take it on. Now the whole 8 go rumbling forward into the Neath 22. Advantage being played, but there is none, so it'll be a kick at goal, surely for Neil Jenkins. Neil Jenkins alternating between posts and ball. Struck that one perfectly that time. Another successful kick for Neil Jenkins. 1,018 points before the start of today, and a conversion and 2 penalties now, taking Pontypridd up to 13-3. Llewellyn to McCarthy. Chris Scott is the man outside, and back again to McCarthy. That's much better from Neath. Good handling to Woodland. Woodland goes outside his man, goes for the corner, looks back inside, and that's robbed by Jason Lewis. Lewis saves the day for Pontypridd when a try seems certain for Neath. Fine play by both backs and forwards, and Woodland takes his man on and goes outside him. Looked as if he was going to go steaming through for the corner, looks inside for Matthew McCarthy, but Jason Lewis keeps his wits about him, and he's the hero of Sardis Road. Members of the London press down en masse. Stephen Jones of the Sunday Times already filing his copy. That, of course, because there's no Courage League games in England today. Bazzani again is there with the cleaning up work. Pontypridd forwards look to walk it on. And do so effectively. Neath having to regroup as best they can, but it's that red and white surge. That's 20 metres and more they've made now. And just when it looked as though the ball is going to come back on a plate to Paul John, it's halted, but not before Pontypridd have made considerable gains. Scott can't control that at the base of the scrum, but does so at the second attempt, and maybe gives David Llewellyn even more room. He goes past Andrew Metcalf, links up with Richard Jones outside. There are men spare, but the tackle from David Manley is an important and timely one for Pontypridd. Glenn Llewellyn, the first man to the ball on the floor. Brian Williams looking to use it on the blind side, but he's been spotted and driven back by the Pontypridd forwards. Wyatt tries to release it. Barry Williams, the hooker, is the man with the ball in hands at the moment. Now Glenn Llewellyn. Phil John, he tries to shrug him off, lays it back. Wyatt, the scrum half, to McCarthy. Richard Jones, bowling up in the line. Chris Scott, the flanker, as an outside centre. Gets taken by Steve Lewis, but it's on this time for Mike Morgan. Morgan tries to set it up for the Neath pack coming forwards. Does so. David Llewellyn to Ian Bubia. Bubia 5 metres short. But the hands on the floor are from Ian Bubia, and all that good work the forwards have done before is in vain. Kingsley Jones, who's having quite a game, takes it on. John again in the move. The little grubber forward. Wyatt doesn't realise how quick Geraint Lewis is outside him. Bowling to Higgs, and it's a matter of just get it off the path as the marauding hordes of Pontypridd come down on the Neath defence. The scrum for Pontypridd more or less in the middle of the field. You get a split of 4 men on the narrow left-hand side and 2 on the right. And it's to the right they go. Paul John goes for the outside break to Jenkins, to Manley. Manley for the corner, tries to get it back inside. But again, there's too many hands in the way. Just as happened for Neath in the first half, happens for Pontypridd in the second. They use the wide open spaces on the right-hand side where there's fewer men. And Jenkins gives the early ball to Manley. Manley knows he's not going to make the corner, tries to look back inside for either one of the halves, but Chris Wyatt in the way. Phil John on all fours, getting that one back. To Paul John. Thinks about going for the gap, but feeds to Matthew Lloyd. Lloyd gets help from Kingsley Jones, almost up to the try line. John in for it. Tries to go around himself with the help of Richie Collins. Prosser and Rowley try and rip it clear. The big men could reach from there. Matthew Lloyd, Nigel Bezani, both have it. Bezani crawls forward, but can't reach the try line. Gareth Simmons perfectly placed to make the decision. And Pontypridd doing everything but scoring there. Just in case Cardiff might slip up, there's always the hope that Pontypridd could go top for the Sardis Road supporters. Some argy-bargy going on in that line. People not being allowed to jump properly. Collins takes a quick tap kick. He's slightly isolated, but there comes the rush from the rest of the forwards now, releasing it eventually to Steve Lewis. The shoulder charge tackle from Glenn Llewellyn. Again, the Pontypridd 8 regrouped quicker. Jenkins to Matthew Lloyd. Scott with a tackle, but Lloyd lays it back. Collins again on hand. Now then, as men spare for Pontypridd. Jenkins doesn't need them. He scored himself. It's not just kicks that this man gets for Pontypridd. There's tries as well. And I think there's just the beginnings of a satisfied smile there. Matthew Lloyd in midfield, taking on 4 of the Neath defenders, and that was bound to create gaps. Collins is there first to get good quality ball. Jenkins has 3-4 men outside, but as they're covered, goes for the gap himself, and over for the try. 5 defenders having to take out Matthew Lloyd. Paul John has a look up to see what's happening. Neil Jenkins with a little shimmy outside and goes between Reynolds and Brian Williams. Good feed from Matthew Lloyd to John. Well covered by David Llewellyn. Lloyd, the first man to the breakdown, supporting his scrum half well. Phil John to Paul John. Jenkins, Lewis, past 2 men, tackled by the next 2. But Neath having to defend in such numbers that Pontypridd are working the gaps out wide. Here they come again. The trip this time, the variation in tactics, as well taken by Stephen Bowling. Lloyd trying to force him down and releases the ball, and the gap on the blind side opens up for Paul John, but he's been called back for a foot in touch. Well, that was so well worked. It was Matthew Lloyd with a tackle and turning Steve Bowling that was so important. Turns his man. The ball pops back for Paul John. He knows there's a gap on that blind side. He streaks for the line, but a touch judge says that his foot was on the line. Debatable, to say the least. John snaps it up. There's the smallest of gaps there, and indeed he is very, very unlucky to have been adjudged that the foot was on the line. Looked a good try from here. The quick throw from Barry Williams, and that's perfectly all right. Hey, Woodland to Jamie Reynolds, just about the first time he's had the ball, and he's clean past his man, goes for the corner. But what a great cover tackle from Geraint Lewis, and Hey Woodland not being able to carry on as the ball had gone over the far touchline. Well, Jamie Reynolds has had to wait an hour to touch this ball, and Neath must now be thinking, why didn't give it to him sooner? Streaking down the left-hand side touchline. Neil Jenkins does his best to cover, but fine covering from the other left-hand flank from Geraint Lewis to bring him to ground. Llewellyn goes in for it, gets it back to McCarthy. Woodland is strong. Woodland reaching out for the try line, but can't quite get there. And Gareth Simmons was only playing advantage anyway. Offside earlier in the ruck by Pontypridd, and not enough of an advantage coming to Neath. So they can have another go now. And indeed, they will run. Llewellyn to Glyn Llewellyn. Too high for Stephen Bowling, but Woodland picks up. Woodland through the first tackle, manages to get the pass to Higgs. Higgs wriggles free of the Geraint Lewis tackle, and the right winger gets Neath's first try. The long pass in midfield from Glyn Llewellyn might have been a shade high, but Hey Woodland shows good strength and good vision, and Chris Higgs just managing to squeeze under the tackle. Jenkins takes it slightly high, and that puts him under pressure, so he has to change his mind and puts the next man under even more pressure, and Jason Lewis won't thank him very much for that pass. It wasn't the best of passes from Paul John to Neil Jenkins. Took it high up to his left, had to check back, and as he tried to make room for himself, found himself in all kinds of bother. So that gives Neath back the impetus they'd lost momentarily. And certainly Pontypridd coming offside on that one. Neath need this kick to keep in touch with time running out. And Matthew McCarthy answers the call, his second successful penalty.
Well, 18-11 the final score mark, and it should have been more because Paul John did score a second try there. Not sure what the touch judge was thinking about, but it was pretty hard going, wasn't it?